Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. It's Sunday, or as I like to say, the first day of Aaron Rodgers off season. Big upsets yesterday. I think the Bengals are right now they're a team to beat in the AFC Championship game. Same with the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. So props to them. They put together winning game plans. I mean, it seemed like Ryan Tannehill just became Ryan Tannehill, and Joe Burrow was Joe Burrow in that game. And special teams are special sometimes, and that's why San Francisco is going to the NFC Championship game. So my Bills are playing today, late game. I feel like they're going to win this. I feel like I was impressed with how they played last week. I thought they played with a lot of focus, and they played a complete game. I think they're going to go into Kansas City, and Kansas City is a good team. You know, I'm a big fan of Andy Reid, always have been, and Patrick Mahomes is a great player. There's a lot of great players there in Kansas City, but I think I just feel like the Bills are up to the task. So we'll see how it plays out. I think in the early game, I think Tampa Bay could be beat. So we'll just see what happens. So we're actually in Gila Bend, but we're going down to Yuma here in a little bit. Yuma, by the way. Yuma, Arizona, that is. We're here in the Grand Canyon State. Phoenix is the largest city and the capital, of course. But Tucson, second largest city. Birthplace of probably one of my favorite singers of all time, Linda Ronstadt. But Yuma has been, like the Guinness Book of World Records says, it's the sunniest place on earth. Or the sunniest city in America, or something like that. Sunniest city. But Yuma's been around for, a long time. And what I mean by that is that their history goes back to, obviously, native peoples were here way before any Europeans, any white people. But it's always been a big, part of its part of the world. It's on the Colorado River, so it's always been like this place where people pass through and stuff. So, and I think there was a movie about the last train that left there. I didn't see it, but I seem to recall a title. Anyway, so we're grabbing a load out of there. That load's going back to Ohio, and then we already pre-planned on a load going from Ohio back to California. So we're going to be up and running. Yesterday was a little bit difficult. I got a parking ticket in Phoenix, but I don't even know how much it cost, but so that was that was noteworthy. I was parked by a Love's, and there were lots of other trucks. Other trucks got tickets too, but I guess I didn't wake up early enough and get the truck moved to a safe spot, but it's part of the business, I guess. So I wanted to share a couple of thoughts, and I've kind of talked about this stuff and kind of alluded to it, and I'm going to talk about the old trucker wisdom first. So it just so happens that where we're sitting, we're right next to Interstate 8, but we're also right across the street from the Union Pacific Southern Transcontinental line. And just to give you an idea, the west end of this runs to Los Angeles, Colton Yard, and then farther into the port of Los Angeles. And then this line splits east of here. The main line goes down to Tucson and then down into Texas, right? So that's how Union Pacific Railroad, which, full disclosure, I own stock in, so I like seeing UP trains. But yeah, and then of course you probably know, if you've ridden across the 40 any time in your life, that BNSF Railroad runs out of Barstow and across the Mojave and across northern Arizona into New Mexico. So anyway, I was like, I saw this guy sitting over there across the road right by the railroad tracks, and I'm like, well, he's either doing one of two things. He's either working on his tan, or he's watching for trains. So, and there was a car parked there, so I walked over, and it turns out this guy, who was fully clothed, long sleeves coat, he really wasn't sunbathing, he was watching for trains, but he's a retired trucker. And when I say retired, I actually mean retired. I don't mean he quit trucking and is living on Social Security or whatever, you know, whatever money he was able to save up. This is a guy who, by the way, his name's Cliff, so if he watches this, shout out to Cliff. Cliff's from Ohio, but he owns a house out here in Arizona, comes out in the summer, or the winter, with his wife. And, you know, Cliff and I were talking about trucking and trucking business, and, you know, like I said, he drove for 40 years, but he has 3 pensions. He drove for he drove for 3 different companies and got pensions from each one of them. And the reason is he was in a union. In fact, when I walked up, first thing I noticed on his car, he had a red Thunderbird. He's got a Teamster sticker on the back of the car. And, you know, he made a comment to me that I think I'm going to use this line a lot, because it was really kind of thoughtful. He said a lot of the guys today, and, you know, he was talking about independent operators or even company drivers. He said a lot of people are short-term smart, long-term dumb. And what he meant by that, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, is that, you know, a lot of guys are like, oh, well, I'll make this much money today, but they don't have anything to show for it, you know, in 40 years or 20 years. And we were talking about all the people that are 1099, people that work under the table, don't pay into Social Security, don't have a pension. You know, when I worked at Estes, which is not a union company, guys would talk about when they were going to retire. And, you know, if retirement just means quitting work, then that's really all you're doing is quitting work. And, you know, he said, when I was driving truck, I didn't pay for any medical, you know, he paid union dues, right? But he said, I didn't have, if I went to the doctor, I didn't get a bill. I went to the optometrist, to the dentist, I didn't get a bill. You know, he had a job that he liked for 40 years. And he's got something to show for it. And what he did pay in union dues is a pittance compared to the benefits that he got. And I'm not on here telling people that, you know, we all need to unionize. But I do think there are a lot of people that think they're so much smarter, but, you know, they got a jet ski, and they got an ATV, and they got a pickup truck, and they got a Harley, and they have all this stuff that when they're 68 years old is going to be turned to rust or just useless to them, because you can't eat a Harley. You can if you're a goat, but that's about it. You can't eat your jet ski or your boat that you only use 2 weekends a year. You can't eat your RV that you paid 30 grand for and only use 3 weekends a year. Now, I mean, you can live in it, but my point is that this is a business now where everybody's worried about what they're getting today. They're not worried about, or not even thinking about, what they're going to need in, you know, 20 years or whatever, or 30 years or 40 years, you know. And he and I were kind of comparing notes, and I said, that's one of the things that I really feel blessed about is that I just did my time in the military. I paid zero money into a pension, and I've made way more since I've been retired than I ever made on active duty. Why? Because I wasn't short-term smart and long-term dumb. I was short-term dumb, maybe, and long-term smart. And, you know, I was telling him when I was an E3 in the Navy, E3, I had already been promoted like twice. I took home $223 a payday. So twice a month, I got $223. And the guys that were E2s that were only taking home like 207 were jealous of me. And like the E1s were only taking home like 198 bucks every payday. But I didn't pay a dime into my pension, right? I didn't pay a dime. And because of the medical benefits that I had, even though I wasn't in a union, I've had the latitude to take risk over the course of my career, doing different things. And, you know, so it was just some interesting wisdom from Cliff about trucking. You know, he talked about deregulation. He knows the history of this business. And, you know, he said, and I don't know if this is necessarily true, but it's his opinion. And he said, you know, a lot of these guys that are independent operators, if they can pay for some fuel and buy a couple of tires, they think they're doing well. Maybe he's right. And I share that with you with the caveat that if it's useful to you, then use it. But here's some new trucker wisdom, and this is coming from me, and I don't sit around trying to think about how I'm wise, or, you know, I am prone to give out advice, but, you know, I've kind of had that kind of career in the past where people paid me for my advice. But one of the things I said recently to a guy who reached out to me, and he wants to come to Prime, and by the way, he was a municipal worker and has a pension, and worked for a city government. And one of the things he said to me when we talked last, because we talked several times, and he's talked about coming on, you know, training with me. And he said, you know, the other day I kind of got offered my dream job, and I'm just really torn now. And I said, you know, here's the thing you need to understand about trucking, and I'm not for 1 second criticizing any of my fellow truck drivers. There's a lot of people, whether they're Prime drivers or drivers at other companies or independent operators, they're like, hey, you know, this is a great time to get in the trucking business. And what I would say is I totally agree with that thought. It is a great time to get into the trucking business. But what I said to him was this. I said, if that's really your dream job, then go do your dream job. I said, and here's why. Trucking's not going away. I've been kind of thinking about driving a truck for over 30 years, but I've only been doing it for like 3 years. And my son talked about doing it when he had like a job prospect fall through. Now, he's graduating from college in May, and from Iowa, of course. And, you know, he kind of changed it. At first he talked about coming and training with me and then getting his own truck, and I was excited about that. I thought it'd be a blast to, you know, train my son and just be on the road together. I mean, I just thought it would be great fun and just being a team and stuff. And then he changed his mind, and I said, you know, and I think he felt a little bad because I was excited about the idea. But I said, you know what, Joe? You know, this is going to be here. Trucking's not going anywhere. I'll still be doing this for a few years. I said, you know, you need to go try whatever it is that you think you want to do. And if it doesn't work out, then trucking will still be here. And that's what I told this guy that I've had contact with. I said, you know, if that's the dream job, then go do it, you know? And then if it doesn't work out, if after 6 months or a year or whatever, you're like, well, this wasn't really as dreamy as I thought. I said, Prime's still gonna be here. I'm still gonna be here. We're still gonna be, you know, hauling cargo all around America. You know, then just come then. It doesn't take very long to get into the system. You know, you can, heck, I think you could probably apply and be at Prime within a very short period of time, unless there's not enough class space. But you know what I'm saying? This is the cool thing about this industry, and especially about Prime, is, yeah, it is a good time to get into it, but I don't know that there's really a bad time to get into it. I think there might be a bad time to get into being an independent operator and running with your own authority and trying to survive on the spot market. There might be a bad time for that. I mean, I suspect it's coming, because it's been, you know, like high cotton lately. Everything's cyclical. But as far as like coming in and getting your CDL at a company like Prime, you don't need to do it today if you're not ready. You just need to do it, or maybe not do it, you know. But you need to know that it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. Prime's been around since 1970. I mean, ask yourself this: how many companies in any industry have been around since 1970, or have been, what is that, 52 years? You know, how many companies have been around for 52 years in America? There's not a lot. And somehow, some way, the folks at Prime, Mr. Lowe and his, you know, close associates have figured out, and, you know, they went through struggles, it's pretty well documented, but they've somehow figured out how to become a dominant player in this industry. And I think, you know, lots of companies do lots of things. Prime is one of them in the trucking industry. There's pretty much no area that they're not handling other than like specialized or heavy haul stuff. But, you know, if you want to do flatbed, Prime can meet your needs. Tanker, I mean, that Manuka facility they're building is purpose built for that. And they really are increasing their presence in the tanker space. Obviously refrigerated, you know, Prime is the largest revenue carrier in refrigerated by a long shot. And refrigerated also means there's a lot of dry van loads. It's not our bread and butter, I don't think. They don't pay as well, but they're out there, and, you know, we haul dry van stuff, not all dry van stuff. Like, I don't think anybody's hauling, you know, roofing material or anything, but you know, there's just a lot of opportunity in this industry. So if you're doing something right now and it's meeting your needs, then do that. I've talked to people who said, yeah, as soon as my kids get out of the house, I'm going on a truck. I talked to a woman at a truck stop one day. She's like, yeah, she goes, I wish I could do what you're doing. I'm like, come on. And she's like, well, I got to wait till my kids get older, but then I am going to do it. And I hope she does, because it'll open up, you know, it'll open up a new world for her. So anyway, that's just a little wisdom. If you're thinking about coming to Prime, but you got something you need to take care of, or you got something else you just really want to try first, do it. We'll still be here. I might not be here, but somebody will. And the trucks will still be here, and people still need, you know, fruits and vegetables and, you know, chicken wings or whatever they, you know, there'll still be Super Bowl parties. And people need to eat. And people need, you know, all sorts of other stuff that we handle. So have a nice day. We're going to enjoy the sun and the warm weather. I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt because I know it's going to be really cold as soon as we get much north of here. We get out past New Mexico, North Texas. It's gonna be a frigid week in I guess most of the east of the Mississippi. So we'll be back in the warm clothes, wearing the Carhartt and everything. So we're gonna enjoy it while we can. So anyway, take care, be safe, be careful on the roads. You know, there's pretty much no vehicle that handles ice except, you know, people that race on like frozen lakes with spiked tires. But yeah, just you know, like Dirty Harry says, a man's got to know his limitations. So the limitations for ice is, I think the top speed is 0. So be careful out there, please, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.